Welcome to Book Solve and this As I Read video about I Am Homeless If This Is Not My Home, novel by American author Lorrie Moore, and this is considering pages 53 to 97. And I give my spoilers warning that we're talking about plot development here, so clearly there are spoilers in there. But I'm more interested really in how I feel about the book, my response to it, and my response to its the writing. And really, it's a one-way conversation now, but it'd be fantastic if you joined in and put comments on here. I'd be really interested to hear those. We start off again with the story of Finn going to the Tiffany's store in New York and taking the broken goblet that his landlady had given him to replace, supposedly an expensive one, and he finds out that it's just tat. And it's quite interesting when he takes it. He's about to give it back to her. It's just after she's admitted that one of the towels she accidentally gave him to use was actually the dog's towel. So yeah, it's quite a funny little bit on there. Let's have a look at page 56, and I want to read you a little bit about the relationship again between Finn and Max, his brother, who's dying in the hospice. When his parents had died, his chance to be their wonderful child was finished, so close yet so far. And what was the meaning of that failed proximity? With his brother, would it be in the same terms of brotherhood? Here, Max was so lingeringly close to the end that maybe the end would never quite arrive, and instead they might grow their brotherhood like a beautiful garden at long last. Though, of course, it would be a puny garden, since they'd waited too long to get it properly and clearly planted. Nice little bit in there. Finn then gets a telephone call from Sigrid, telling him to come at once, that there's been some kind of news about Lily, his former girlfriend, partner, and he sets off in his car for one of these hugely long drives that you have to do in America, because it's a big place, America. And there's a nice little bit here about, well, firstly about from 57, from the hospice. When he left the bardo of the hospice to its trapped souls and the steel beds and alarmingly coloured drinks. That's a really nice little sentence there. And then there's another nice sentence when he's on the drive that is in the countryside by now, and the brown brush of the pre-winter hillside like a wild, bristled doormat, reminding him that he had not shaved. Nice little triplet of things there. The brush in the countryside reminding him of a doormat, and the doormat leading onto the stubble that he's got. And it's reminding us that it's October, that the winter's coming on. Yeah, that's part of the good writing that's on there. It's followed up by there's an episode where he spins off the road. A little phrase there, the speed of fright, is nicely used. But it's just one of the, and it's had, it's an episode that I'm not sure why it's in there. I don't quite get the relevance of it to the story as a whole as yet, so probably that will get revealed later on in the book, because he spins off the road and reports the accident, gets his car towed back onto the road and continues his journey. So, excuse me a second. So it would appear that this is just filling up a bit of time, but it's quite interesting that he wanders off after spinning off the road out of his car and goes to a farmhouse which is nearby and knocks on the door. And it just reminded me entirely of the ending of Paul Auster's last novel, Baumgartner, where his protagonist had just had a car accident, got out of his car, and managed to walk to the nearest house, knocked on the door, and that was the end of the novel. So there's a spoiler for Baumgartner there as well. But I don't know quite, because this is a really strange episode of this farmhouse is actually some kind of office, and then Finn seems to come on to the tow truck driver in quite a spectacularly forward way, and I don't know what that's all about. So hopefully it will get revealed to me later on, or maybe somebody in the comments below can explain it to me. I don't quite get that particular episode and why it happens. So he gets back to his home, has a sleep that he needs then, and then goes off to Sigrid's to find out what the news is about. And there's he finds out from Siegfried. She announces quite boldly that Lily's been successful in trying to commit suicide again, in a really weird way, in the shower, by imbibing water. And you do think, well, no, this is an impossible thing to do. You can't do that. You can't drown yourself in the shower in that way, surely. Interesting. Whether that's supposed to be taken literally or not. But during his conversation with Sigrid, we again, Finn perceives that she's coming on to him, and we find out that Sigrid is the wife of the headmaster, and we find out a little bit about Finn and Sigrid's affair and the interchanges that they've had, and their talk with each other does tend to lend credence to the fact that, yes, there was actually something going on between them. It isn't in Finn's imagination. It starts to get solidified that, oh yeah, actually, no, it really was something happened there. There's a nice little paragraph on page 70 that I'm going to read, which is about the sun and the moon. And I do love this little bit here. Jack is Lily's new beau, which is very much resented by Finn, that she's got this new person she's taken up with. Finn had been a waning beau for so long that he'd never really absorbed being the ex. He was always just waning. But he could wax. He really could. He had. Every once in a while, the phone would ring and there was Lily's voice, and he and she would wax again. He would take whatever she would offer. He was not a cold, mad moon. He was a circle of light made from a leftover sun. Nice little bit there that we throw some more light on certainly how Finn sees his relationship with Lily. And we have other passages where perhaps we find out a little bit more of how other people see that relationship. Right. We find out that Lily's been buried very quickly. She wanted a green burial. So she needed to be put in the ground fairly quickly in an unmarked grave on a green cemetery site, and that's already happened. Um, that so what have we else got there? So after Finn leaves Sigrid, he immediately drives out to the cemetery in order to try and find the place where she's buried, because it's going to be difficult, because it's already closed for the evening. The chap that looks after it is there, so can't direct him to the right place. The graves are unmarked because that's the way they do the things there. But Sigrid has left a grapefruit there, and symbolically, I guess, Finn is bringing along an orange, which he brought with him from New York. So the interesting thing between the sourness of the grapefruit and the sweetness of the orange there. And as soon as he gets there, he hears a voice. "I was hoping you'd get here soon," from behind him. And immediately he's confronted with either the ghost or an hallucination or a sort of fantasy vision of Lily. Um, Cray's death had not yet made a stranger of her, it says. And they start having a conversation. She's, as you would expect an apparition to be, of somebody newly dead. She's still in the shroud that she was buried in, and she's got mud and stuff in her mouth, and she's got worms and insects over her, and so we're very much left into some doubt as to whether this is a reality, and really pushed towards the idea that, well, no, it's not. It's in his imagination. Um, but they both together have a conversation, very deep and interesting conversation. We find really that Lily was as obsessed with or taken with Finn as he was with her. So again, is he imagining this, or is it really what she's got there? We're not trying to, don't really know. Interesting line here of, "Are you trying to tell me that you're a thought experiment?" Is something that Finn says to her, and talks about that she's got a repudiation of life and soul of ingenuity. So that's all quite interesting. Talks about what she's wearing at the moment. She's still got her clown shoes on. These are men's Oxford shoes, big ones, red with these brightly coloured laces, which we learned before that she'd tried to commit suicide with. And talks a little bit about, isn't this like a wrestling match where the umpire, the referee, has to get down low to look and see whether the shoulder's being held to the canvas or not, in order to tell whether it's the end of the bout or not, and whether this is what death's like. Death hasn't held her held her down long enough, and she's been able to spring up again. But Finn wanted to hold her, and she won't let him do that. Which again makes us think that maybe she's just a spectre rather than a real person. Let's just get for another bit on here. Right, frozen, standing there, he felt a heaving within himself. The weeping inside came out. He felt his mouth stretching in a wide line, and he began to sob. And then, so did she, at her chosen distance, their cries suspended, then drifting in the air between them. He stepped towards her in a slow, automatic way. "No," she said again, and she tried to switch gears. "Did you know that flange means undesirable vagina? I've missed you. Thank you. Perhaps true love has trouble in life, but navigates death rather well." And they do come together. And there's a description of how they're feeling with their arms around each other. And then he takes her to the car, sets her in the car, and they decide to flee. So at this point, we're sort of going, well, no, this really must be real. She was faking her death, or she wasn't dead, and she's got out of this shallow grave they've put her in, and he's now abducting her. Well, not abducting her, but going away with her. But again, we're a little bit there's a bit. I guess I made my spot on God's cold earth a little uncomfortable, and now it's returning its favour. She brushed again at her shroud. Perhaps not such a great awakening, after all. Not the fresh MO I was going for, just another creature of the necroscape. Not shiny with resilience and invention, as I hoped. You know, she's necroscape. That's a nice word, isn't it? That's in there, but yeah, she's had to throw off the earth that's around her, and it's though she's throwing off death once more. Was she right? He thought about it constantly, but had not gone looking. "I did nothing but want you," he said fiercely. "It's not the same." And off they go in the car. There's a let's get out of here. There's an interesting little story that, again, I don't understand. Maybe people will help me with this. She talks about tells a little story, a little anecdote about a robot and a lady gorilla. Sort of comes out of nowhere, doesn't it? And that's, I won't read that bit because it's just so, it's just sort of weird, and I'll let you come across it when you come to read it. But the last episode before the end of this bit, Finn's attention's caught by a lake that's got 100 or more migrating swans on it, and they stop to look at these swans. And Lily makes a minor apology for something to do with the radio. I can't remember what it is now. But previously Finn said that's something that he very much wanted to hear from her at some time, some kind of apology. Right, I shall leave it there. Another quite long video. It's taken 20 minutes to get through that. That's just the way it is, I guess, when I'm rambling on. I'll see what I can do to try and trim these down a little bit if they are wrong. But for the moment, long, not wrong. For the moment, I'll say cheerio from Booksolve, and happy reading to you all.